We are quickly approaching the 1-year anniversary of Beyblade X. And in that time, we've seen 33 releases with dozens of different Beyblades and different color schemes. So in this video, I'm going to be ranking every single Beyblade X release based off of their stock combo, their potential competitive usage, and also kind of what I like the best. There may be a few recolors that are missing, and some of the special gold bays are not on this list, but pretty much everything is here. So hit that like button, hit subscribe to join the Nook Nation, and let's get on to the tier list. So the first bay we're going to look at is Dran's Sword, or Sword Dran if you're a Hasbro fan. But this is the bay that started it all for the series. It is an attack type, and for its time, it was really solid. And I'm still seeing a lot of people use this in their competitive metas and whatnot. I definitely think there are better attack types out there, but just because this is kind of a classic bay, we're going to put this at B tier. Next up, we have Hell Scythe, or Scythe Incendio, and this bay is insane, okay? The Ratchet 460 isn't that great, I will say. Taper is fine, but the Hell Scythe blade is just fantastic. It might be getting a little outclassed now as the bays start to get a little bit heavier, potentially. But overall, I think that this is definitely an A tier. This is an A tier. If I would have made this tier list a few months ago, I probably would have put it in the S category. Next up, we have our first stamina release in the entire Beyblade X line. We have Wizard Arrow, or Arrow Wizard. I have been pretty vocal about my distaste for this bay. I'm really not the biggest fan of it. I've seen some people have luck with it, I guess, but I really don't think it is that good at all. The ball bit on it is pretty solid, though. In fact, ball is one of the currently limited parts from Takara Tomy. So I think I'm going to put this at C tier for now, but I might reevaluate and make it go lower, but I don't really think I could put it any higher than C. Moving on, we have our first defense type with Knight Shield, or Helm Knight, if you like the Hasbro names. This is kind of the sister bay to Wizard Arrow, in that it is both the bays are used by multi-Nana Iro. Okay, so now we're getting our first pretty terrible bay. This might be controversial. There might be some people out there that love the Knight Shield blade. I am not one of those people. In fact, I would say that defense types are the worst typings from Takara Tomy in the entire generation. The needle bits is really bad. I don't like it. Knight Shield is just not nearly as good as a bunch of other blades on this list. So you know what? This is going to go in D. I'm almost tempted to put it in F, but I'm saving F for the worst of the worst. Just like I'm saving S for the best of the best. So our first D tier. In this video, we are talking about a ton of Beyblade X releases. And if you want to get some for yourself, go and check out Mall of Toys. They have the upcoming Cobalt Dragoon and Black Shell random booster up for pre-order right now. They also have the new Vice Tiger up for sale, and pretty much any other X bay your heart could desire. So go and check out Mall of Toys, and link in the description down below. And make sure to use code ilinnuc to get 5% off of your purchase. Now, before we move on to the deck sets and some of the recolors, let's go back to those very first BX00 releases, starting off with Cobalt Drake. Immediately, this is going in S tier, okay? It is super heavy, and it still is one of, if not the heaviest blade, almost a year after its release. It's one of the parts that is limited by Takara Tomy, and it has the 460 ratchet, which isn't great, whatever, and the flat bit is good. But this is such an amazing bay to have in your collection if you're able to get it, because it's super rare and super expensive. So all things considered, I think it's our first S tier bay. Next up, we have Dranzer S. This was the first remake in the 25th anniversary kind of crossover project. And while it's a cool bay to have in your collection and the box design is really nice, it is the lightest X release in, I think, the entire series as of right now. It kind of doesn't count because it's not a true X bay, I guess. But overall, in terms of its stock combo and its total competitive performance, I think this has to go. You know what? I'm going to put it in F. I might boost it to D tier later, but for right now, it's just so bad and outclassed that I just don't use it anymore, and it just kind of sits on my shelf. So now let's move on to the 3-on-3 deck set. So this is just a bunch of recolors, and I think this release is pretty skippable at this point if you don't have the deck set. I don't really recommend it to anybody. The yellow Hell Scythe is fine. I'm not really going to spend too much time on these recolors. The yellow one, I'm going to put towards the bottom of C. I don't really like the color. Wizard Arrow in green is going top of D tier. And then the red Knight Shield, I'm going to put in D tier as well. Okay, I cannot put a Knight Shield Bey above D. I just don't like it. Next up, we have Knight Lance, which is the variant, or you may call it evolution to Knight Shield. And this came on High Needle, which some people were kind of hyped about, but I don't really see people using this blade or High Needle at all. And if they do, it's in very rare circumstances. It's also kind of skippable because it came in a booster. Not many people cared about it at the time, and I didn't even make a full YouTube video. I made a YouTube short, so I don't even really care about this blade. I'm gonna go ahead and put this at maybe a little bit above Knight Shield, but it's another D tier. Moving on, we have our first random booster. And the first Bey is the prize anime coloring of Shark Edge, or Keel Shark. Shark Edge is a pretty expensive Bey to get because it is a prize release, so thank the Lord for Hasbro releasing this in a booster. Very, very nice move there. Shark Edge is a really strong attacker. It has a great kind of oblong shape. It hits really hard. I don't really know if it is the best attack type out there because its stamina is just really bad. But you get Shark Edge and you get low flat, and low flat is really aggressive as well. So I'm actually gonna put this at the very top of B tier. I think I'm gonna put it above Dran Sword. That might be kind of a hot take, but I'm gonna stick with that. Then we have the rest of the random booster. I think the yellow Shark Edge is pretty hideous, but it still hits hard, and it's a cheaper way to get Shark Edge, or at least at the time when there wasn't any Hasbro. So this is gonna go in C tier. I'm gonna put it at the top of C. Next up, we have the black and bluish kind of monotone Dran Sword. I actually really like the color scheme of this a lot. I'm actually gonna put this above the standard one. Kind of a hot take. I definitely battle with the standard one more because it's anime accurate, but this recolor is just, it's so nice. Green Hell Scythe. I've got to put this, we're going to put that in C tier. Blue Knight Shield I actually think is better than the original, but no Knight Beys above D tier, okay? And then the kind of reddish Wizard Arrow, I'm going to put that probably here. I don't actually know. I like the way that the color scheme looks, but we'll stick with this for now. Next up, we have a really hotly debated and divisive, whatever the word is. We have Leon Claw. Okay, so this was a nice starter whenever it came out. It came with a kind of uniquely colored ripcord launcher with a gold and kind of white color scheme. It came with some really nice parts. I mean, the 560 ratchet is great. I use it in my competitive deck. And it also came with point, which is another great part that was also kind of hard to come by until sort of recently. So I'm actually going to put this at B tier. Then we have the Viper Tail Random Booster Select. And whenever these Beys came out for the first time, I loved battling them. It does have the orb bit, which is pretty limited, or it's a limited release from Takara Tomy. You do get docked like a point if you use it, so it is solid. But Viper Tail, it's more fun than competitive, so I'm actually going to put it probably above Wizard Arrow, but it still is going to be in C tier. The yellow Viper Tail I think is hideous so much, I'm going to put that in D. And then the black and red one, it looks good, but if I'm remembering right, its parts aren't quite as good as the standard one. So that is going to go towards the right there. We'll put it right there, kind of in the middle of C tier. Now we move on to a really special Bey, and in all of our hearts, okay? We have Rhino Horn, or Horn Rhino. And this, before I even explain anything, is going straight at the bottom of F tier, okay? Whenever this bay first came out, I tried to be kind of charitable to it. It's sort of fun to battle with, but it's not fun because it can do crazy stuff. It's fun because it gets rocked, okay? It's a defense type, but it's really small and has a kind of a plus design to it, so it's really recoily. Some people are using it in attack combos with like the 160 ratchet, but I'm just never gonna touch that. It's just not really for me. It could be fun, but it's really not good, and I would put it at F tier. Now we can move on to the Dagger deck set, and this one's kind of interesting. We're gonna start with Dagger first. So I don't think the blade is as good as Sword, full stop, okay? The 460 ratchet, also not as good as Sword's 360, but that rush bit, the rush bit is great, and I'm using it on Buster, actually, for my tournaments. I'm gonna put it at the very, very top of C tier, okay? No, you know what? I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B. It's fun to battle with, even if all the parts aren't amazing on it. I think it deserves to be in B tier. Then we have the Mountain Dew Shark. So this one's interesting, okay? Because it is kind of ugly, okay? Especially in these renders. So overall, I'm gonna put this in B tier. Towards the bottom, but it's in B. Then we have the Purple Night Shield, okay? No explanation needed. I actually like this color scheme. I'm gonna put this above the green Wizard Arrow, but it's still a D tier release. So let's move on to our next release. We have the Hell's Chain deck set. I think in total, this deck set is worse than the Dagger one. Hell's Chain, though, is pretty good. A lot of people were using it as kind of like a sort of replacement or interchangeable with Hell's Scythe, but I don't think it's as good as Hell's Scythe. I'm actually going to put it in B tier. But I am going to make another change. I'm actually going to put Shark Edge up to A, which as the A and S tiers kind of fill out, might get booted back down. Next up, we have the P Yellow Knight Lance. It's a funny bay to battle with, but it is downright hideous. This is a hideous bay. The little bit of purple does save it for sure, but it saves it from being an F tier. Then we have Gatorade Orange Wizard Arrow. This one, we're going to put it at the top of D tier, okay? I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think it's below average. Now we are cooking, boys. We have Phoenix Wing, and I cannot say enough how incredible this bay is. If you look at what you get if you buy the Phoenix Wing string launcher set, both the Takara Tomy and the Soar Phoenix Deluxe string launcher set from Hasbro, you're getting the bay itself, which has incredible parts. Gear flat isn't really that great, but 960 is the limited ratchet right now from Takara Tomy. Phoenix Wing is limited from Takara Tomy. It's one of the heaviest bays out there, and it's one of the very few, if not the only, painted metal coat standard release that you could just get. It's not special like Cobalt Drake is, so no explanation needed. This is going above Cobalt Drake in S tier. It's fantastic. Now we can move on to a bay that's not as fantastic, okay? Wyvern Gale. I think people like it. I don't really see a lot of people talking about it. It kind of reminds me of like Knight Lance, and it's kind of forgettable. Just to be I mean, it's also on Gear Ball and whatnot, and 580, I believe. So the parts aren't amazing. This is hard. This might be kind of controversial, but I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of C tier. The yellow one is hideous. It's disgusting. That is going probably there at D. The purple Knight Lance I think looks better than the original one. I think it actually looks really good, so I'm going to put it at the top of D tier, but it's Knight Lance. And then we have the blue Viper Tail, and I think the blue Viper Tail looks really solid right here, toward like literally the exact like middle of the tier list, pretty much right in the middle of C. Then we have the red Leon Claw, and this one's not quite as good looking as the original Leon Claw. The parts aren't as good, so this is gonna go in, I'm sorry Nizuma, but this is going in D. There's a lot of bays in D tier right now, and you're probably like, oh, ilinnuc hates everything. Not true. We just get so many recolors of Wizard and Knight that it just kind of fills up the T tier space, but it'll get better. Now we have a purple Wizard Arrow, which it's Wizard Arrow, but it's purple. I actually like the color scheme more than the yellow one. but the parts aren't as good. This is a tough one. I'm going to put it like right here. I love Unicorn Sting, and I do know it is used in the competitive meta to some degree. I tried using it at a tournament, and I felt like it was the weakness of my deck, so I don't really use it anymore, but it's still fun to battle with. And for the parts, you have a beautiful looking 560, okay? The white and like bluish 560 looks really good. Gear point in that pinkish color isn't great, but overall, you know, just because it's fun, I'm gonna put it in B tier. I think it's fine in B tier. Next up, we have the Sphinx Cowl Random Booster Select, and I just do not like these bays at all. In fact, I don't know if I've ever even battled Sphinx Cowl because I don't care about them. I didn't make any videos or I think any short about it either. That's how little I cared about it. It has a cool idea, but I just heard really negative things. Someone in my local community used it in a combo, and I'm pretty sure I shredded it as well. He used like the black one. This is going in F. I'm sorry, it's going in F. So is the white one, and just because I want to be nice, and I think black and red recolors or black and blue recolors are sick, we'll put that at the bottom of D. But Sphinx Cowl, not good. Next up, we have Dran Buster, and this one's really mixed as well. This was the first bay in the Unique Extreme or UX lineup, and really UX isn't really that different from BX. It's not an evolution or anything or a new series. It just changes up the weight distribution a little bit. But it's very boom or bust, kind of like Shark Edge. It may even have worse stamina than Shark Edge. The 160 ratchet, some people love it, some people don't. It's definitely good for attack power, sure. The Excel bits, I don't really see anybody talk about, and it's kind of mid for me. I don't know how I feel about it, but I do like the Dran Buster blade, and I used it at a tournament kind of recently, and I had good luck with it. I put it on 560 and Rush. I'm actually going to put this at the top of B tier. I think it fits in B. No. I'm going to be controversial. This is going to go towards the bottom of A tier, or it may even be tied with Shark Edge. I think any scenario that you can use Shark Edge, you could probably use Dran Buster and be just as good. Next up, we have Hell's Hammer, and the Hell's Hammer blade is not it's got a cool look. Some people like it, and I think that it could be good, but maybe we don't have the part combo right now that makes it really good. And then the Hexa Bits is fantastic on certain combos. So I'm going to put it above Leon, above normal sword Dran, or Dran sword. It's going to go in B. Then we have probably the best UX bay. We have Wizard Rod. The disc ball bit is definitely a weakness on the stock combo, but you can literally replace disc ball with Hexa from Hell's Hammer, and you have probably the most overpowered combo in the entire game. I think Wizard Rod is honestly a must buy at this point. So I'm actually going to put it above, not above Phoenix, above Cobalt Drake in that S tier category. It's really good. Moving on, we have the next bay in the crossover project. We have the Remake 2 Drigger S. This one is definitely better than Dronzer, okay? I'm more of a Dronzer fan than a Drigger fan for the most part, but I think this is a better bay. It weighs a little bit more. The shapes are pretty similar, but I think it has a bit of a better shape. And you also get a better bits with point instead of taper. And point is really good. And point is able to make any mid-tier blade probably a tier higher because it's good for attack and for stamina for the most part. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. It's good for your collection too. The box art's really good. It's kind of fun to battle with, but point in collectors, this is hard. This is really tough. You know what? I'm going to put it towards the bottom of C tier. That might be controversial, whatever. It's going to go in C. Then we have the Tyrano Beat Random Booster, which I think is the best random booster we've gotten from Beyblade in general. A lot of the color combos here are good, and the part combos are good here. But starting with the prize, we have Tyrano Beats, and I love this bay. I think the gear chip design is a little bit bland. It's very boring in its design, but it's a T-Rex. The blade is also really heavy. It's got a great design to it, and I do think it's a little bit slept on in the meta, maybe because it's kind of recoily. So I'm actually going to put it towards the top of B tier. I don't think it's quite on the same as Buster and Shark Edge, but I think it fits right there. Then we have the lime green one, and this comes on Spike. This is a horrible part combination to the point where I'm going to put it at the very bottom of C tier. I think it's super, super ugly, and the parts aren't that good. Then we have the recolors in the random booster. We have the orange and blue Dagger. I believe this one also came with point, and so overall, I think this is pretty solid. I'm going to put it at the bottom of B. I like the color scheme for it, and point is good. It's a little bit worse than the standard one. Next up, we have probably just one of the best recolors in the entire system. I love my black and insert color beys that are really simple, and it's monochromatic. It looks really good. So Shark Edge, you're going to be going, actually, we're going to put you at the bottom of A tier. I personally just love the color scheme for this bey so much that I'm perfectly okay with maybe overrating it just a little bit. Next up, we have the blue recolor of Hell's Chain in this random booster. And I think the Hell's Chain blade is pretty solid, as I said earlier. And it also came with orb as well, which is one of the limited parts. So I'm actually going to put this Hell's Chain probably a little bit too high. I might even put it above the original Hell's Chain, because I think you could probably battle this at a tournament and have better luck than if you did that with the original. So I'm gonna put it probably there, towards the middle, higher end of B tier. Then we have Rhino Horn, and I'm gonna put this above the standard one, but Rhino Horn's just bad. I think this recolor is better, but it's just not good. So F tier. Oh boy, and now we have a really interesting Beyblade UX release, okay? We have the Shinobi Shadow Random Booster Select. This is so far the latest release in the UX lineup, and it's not good at all, okay? Has the metal needle bit, which isn't good, and it's also a bit of a stadium clapper, okay? Can definitely dent your stadiums for sure. The 180 ratchet in the purple color, I don't think makes any sense for this bey. You know what? I'm gonna put it at the bottom. I'm gonna put it at the straight bottom. The yellow one's at the bottom, and then we're gonna put the blue one actually a little bit higher. I think I'll put it higher than standard Rhino Horn. Once again, the black and simple kind of monochromatic colors. I have a soft spot for those color schemes, so I kind of overrated it a little bit. Now we can move on to the most recently released Takara Tomy Beyblade X release, and we have Vice Tiger. This one, it's probably a little bit too early to rank. I think the Unite bit is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but there's not really a lot of testing out there. The Ratchet being 360 is good. It's a good performer, whatever. But then the Blade, it's kind of mid in its weights and mid in its shaping. It's like the definition of mid when it comes to competitive performance, but it might be just a little bit cool. You know, it's a cool looking blade, so it's hard for me to put it at a low tier. This is one of those beys that might not be that good, but it's really fun to battle with. And because of that, I'm going to put it right next to Unicorn Sting, because it's kind of similar to Unicorn Sting, where it might not be that great, but it's just a lot of fun. And I think if you battle with it, you're going to have just a great time. We'll say towards the bottom of B. So now we move on to some of the Hasbro releases and then some special releases. This will go pretty quick. Okay, Steel Samurai is worse than Leon Claw. I'm going to put it at the bottom of C. Tusk Mammoth is a worse version of Hell Scythe. Hell Scythe is really good, but I think that this is kind of a C tier. Maybe like right here-ish. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Knife Shinobi, I think it's a little bit better for defense than Rhino Horn. I'm not a fan of the design of the gear chip. I think the Ninja, it's kind of a bland design to me. I'm going to put it at F. I'm going to put it in the F tier category. And then Talon Terra is going to go around in D tier as well. It's just a worse Viper Tail. And if Viper Tail's in C, then I'll go ahead and put this in D. I'll put it above the yellow one though, because it's kind of unique. You know, it's a sort of different bey. Let's talk about some of the Koro and special releases. First up, we have Phoenix Feather, and I like this, okay? Nobody's really using it because it's definitely kind of light, especially for an attack type. but it was a Koro kind of limited blade release. We saw it in the manga, and I think the anime as well, as like a precursor to Phoenix Wing, and Phoenix Wing is great. So I'm really not going to judge this Bey off of the competitive appeal for it. I'm going to judge it based off of the way it looks and the collector's appeal. And I think that as a Beyblade collector, I think you need this. And I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier, honestly. That might be crazy. Some people might hate that pick, but I'm going to go with A. Next up, we have the Special X kind of Hell Scythe, which was a Koro release as well. I don't actually have this Bey yet. I never really felt the drive to get it, so I definitely focused on the standard releases a little bit more, but I'm looking to get it for a decent price right at this very moment, pretty much. It has stickers. It's one of the first, if not the first X release to have stickers, and I think this is a great collector piece to have, so I'm going to put it at S. It's an S tier collector piece. Next, we have Shark Edge in this amazing blue color scheme. I think it looks fantastic, okay? This is a Bey I would absolutely never battle with, though. I would just use normal Shark Edge. Why would I destroy the paint on a limited Bey that looks this good? I love this blue color, and for collector appeal, once again, S tier. It is fantastic. So I'm actually going to make an entirely new tier, and I'm going to call it Can't Rank, and we are just going to put every one of these releases, including Dagger there. And with that, we have the full Beyblade X tier list, according to me, kind of my thoughts on how good their stock combos, their competitive aspects are. But that is it. This is my tier list at this very point in time. If you're watching this video like a year from now or beyond, I mean, I appreciate you watching this, but this tier list... My voice didn't crack, I promise. But this tier list is probably going to be really outdated in less than a year. So maybe I'll come back and re-rank these and rank the newer Beys that are released at that time. But that is going to wrap up this video. If you liked it, hit that like button down below. Hit subscribe to join the Nook Nation. And I will see you in the next one. Have fun and Bey away.